So for those that don't know, hi everybody, I'm Sarah. I'm the founder of Populist. Populist is a simplified baby registry platform. I won't get into all the wonderful things that make us different and special, but thank you all for being here today. I'm going to hand it over to our very special guest, Victoria. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, and then if you'll just let the group know a little bit about Milk Diary, I think they would. I think this is the perfect chance for them to know a little bit more.
Awesome. So I'm Victoria Facelli. I'm an IBCLC, which stands for Internationally Board Certified Lactation Consultant. So that means that did all of the training and sat the big test and all of the things to be a medical provider specializing in feeding babies. And I'm also author of a book called Feed the Baby. And I connected with this amazing woman, Kaya, who is the founder of Milk Diary, and she asked me to come on and be the medical advisor for Milk Diary, and it has been so amazing. I always say that, like, I wrote a book because it was easier than making an app. Making an app is so hard, and there's
Yes, it is.
so few women in this space. And so to find a woman, and a woman of color even, who had similar feeding struggles to me and had like all of the kinds of ways that you feed babies,
Mm-hmm.
but the incredible technical ability to build an app was game changer. And I was like, yes, like I
Yes. When do I
will
start?
worship at your feet. Like, what do you want from me? How can I help? This is my dream, is that families have this. This
Right.
is such a game changer. And so I've been able to help her kind of refine it and understand it from the technical side, because she really built it from the mom side.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows like, it's like watching a wizard work, where I'm like, okay, but what about like this thing? Like, I had a friend who was using the app and needed to fortify her milk. So sometimes if you have like a baby who's in the NICU and is growing really slowly, you might have to add some formula to breast milk to raise the calorie level. And I was like, is there a way that we can track that? And she's just like, "Brrr," and it just appeared, and she's amazing. So anyway, Milk Diary is a feeding tracking app that is for iOS and is built both from the usability of a parent experience. So, like, she's in a multi-generational household,
Mm-hmm.
and you can have like dad track, mom track, like grandparents track, like partners. All anyone can input, like postpartum doula can input
Amazing.
information. So like one of the most amazing features, so it has all these features that are like very grounded in that parent experience,
Mm-hmm.
and then is looking at information that actually gives you helpful feedback. It's
That's
not
great.
tracking just to track.
Okay.
And then it generates reports that providers can actually read.
Oh, amazing.
So the thing
So,
that kept happening to me as a lactation consultant, and the reason I would never touch a feeding app personally, is because they were all timers.
right.
So I don't know who in history, like I don't know, maybe it's in the tabula rasa, like I don't know. Somehow, somewhere in history, someone decided that babies eat for 20 minutes on one side and 20 minutes on the other. As though babies tell time, as though bodies are like that. Just like, who decided that? And so that kind of like made the rounds. And then when apps came into existence, they're all timers. So it's like a timer that's left and a timer that's right. And there are times where that information, like, is a baby eating really slowly, are they eating quickly, is helpful. So like you absolutely can time feedings in this app, but that's not the only information that we're taking. So
Right. Well, that's great.
that's
It,
quantitative data, right? It's telling you like an amount of time. And what Milk Diary looks at is also like, are you in pain? How does your baby seem after a feeding? How often are they eating? But also amazing things like for exclusive pumpers, or any amount of pumping, where it actually like tracks how much is in your freezer. And so when you make a bottle and you like note how much and like where that bottle came from, it actually keeps track of how much is in your freezer for you.
Well, that's amazing. I remember just using my notes in my phone for both of my
Yeah,
babies, tracking
totally.
all the feeds, all the poops. You
Hmm.
know, you get obsessed about that stuff, but it is really important. And then, but that's so great to know that that app is available. So
Yeah, and
hopefully the
then
people
someone
on the
would like
call can
show it
go
to
check
me,
it
and I'm
out.
like, this is just a list of timers. This doesn't
Right.
give me
That's all
any
I know. Yeah.
information. And she is able to use like awesome language models and tools to actually just like print something out that gives me
Very
like,
cool.
how old is this baby? How much weight are they gaining? Are they like, how many times in 24 hours are they eating? Is this parent in pain? Like the information I actually need to actually help them.
That's incredible. Um, for those that are on the call, if you guys want to just put in the comments, like in the chat, where you are in your feeding journey, or even if you're just expecting and you're thinking about this ahead of time, I just would love to get a pulse check on like where everyone is, whether you have a newborn, a 6-month old, a 1-year old, whatever. Let us know. Victoria, I'm going to ask you like one of our first questions that I think I would just love to start. Oh, someone's in California, great. What do you wish more expecting parents understood about feeding uncertainty before the baby arrives?
I would love everybody to learn more about to pay more attention to cues and less
Mm-hmm.
attention to the clock.
Okay.
So that idea of like the 20 minutes really is so confusing to people because a baby can be doing basically nothing for
Mm-hmm.
20 minutes or eating really effectively for 5,
Mm-hmm.
and those babies got like dramatically different amounts of milk. And so, and even if you're just bottle feeding or combo feeding, being able to know if your baby's eating enough is probably the thing that parents want to know the most. And so being able to read your baby's cues. So this is where I
Can
use
you
my
tell us more
performance
about
degree.
those? Can you tell us more
So
about the cues? Like, what are the most obvious ones an expecting parent, or even there's someone that's nursing right now on the call?
yeah.
What are they looking for? Like, what are the most obvious signs they can look for?
Okay. So a baby goes from like totally asleep to like this, right? So this is
Mhm.
like your earliest cue. Like that baby's starting to wake up and get hungry. So like this is
Okay.
your cue to like get your water bottle, get your snack, grab your phone, right? And then they start, right? And then anything touches their face, they're like,
Mm-hmm.
and then the hands come up,
You're doing it impressively accurate.
right? And then there's crying. So
Yes.
like if we can catch them, like if you're kind of getting yourself ready to go, which like all, sometimes you're dealing with the toddler like driving or whatever, you're not going to catch all of them, but in those early days where you really are together a lot, if you can start to notice like, oh, you're like starting to get hungry, that like gives me a second to get set up
Okay.
before you're crying. Because
Right.
if I'm learning, like think about when you learn to drive,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're just like, oh my God, how do I do the thing? And like eyes on the road, and like and now you don't even notice you're doing it. And that's kind of how feeding can be, where like when you're learning how to do it, it can be really overwhelming
Mm-hmm.
and take a lot of attention. And so trying to learn something new when someone's screaming at you is really, 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 really hard. And
Yes,
so when
sounds
you
like
catch
it.
those earlier cues, you like have a little buffer time to catch them in the like
Yeah.
this part where they're going to be easier to latch than when they're losing their ever loving mind.
Okay,
So
so those are
that's
the
kind of the,
cues that they're getting hungry.
yeah, so
Yeah.
those are the hunger cues.
Yep.
And then you're going to feel, if you're nursing, you're going to like feel your body and you're going to be like, all right, this is what full is like. Noted. Just like kind of curiously observing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to latch that baby. I want you to check in with yourself about if there's pain, right? Like any of those things. And then you're going to keep watching that baby.
Mm-hmm.
And as a baby gets more full, they start to kind of drop this down.
Mm-hmm.
And then they will often fall asleep because newborns have nowhere to be. So they're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm good. I like took the edge off. And that's my like little T-Rex arms. So if I pull this arm, they're still going to be like, no, I'm still using that, right? But like the hands are a little open. And then you're going to feel and be like, there's still like a lot of firm spots. I'm going to wake you up and go back to that side. Or like, feels softer. Move them over to the other side.
Okay.
And then what I'm looking for either like when they finish this side or like in general for like what does the end of a feeding look like. They might still be latched, they might still be sucking, or if they're having a bottle, like the bottle might not be done, but they are doing either no sucks or like these little butterfly sucks.
Okay.
Right? They're not doing those like big sucks so they drop the jaw. And their hands get nice and loose and their little arms go like,
got it.
And they just get total noodle arm.
Great.
And so those cues both in your body of like, okay, that's what like full and drained feels like. And if you're always feeling really firm and full, you might need a provider to help you figure out like, okay, your baby's gaining weight well, or like, you're right, they're not actually draining well. And if your baby like stays super tense and is eating every hour, I want to know about that, and I want to help problem solve and make sure they're being effective. Because the other part of the clock, right, is we're like, oh, you feed your baby every 3 hours. Again, they don't have clocks. What we actually know is that we see better outcomes when people feed babies on cue, and we're looking for 8 to 12 feedings in 24 hours.
Okay.
So I'm looking, so like in the app, you can just be like, a feeding, like if everything's going well, I just need to know, are they peeing, are they pooping, are we getting 8 to 12 feedings in 24 hours? And that's really for the first 2 weeks till they're back to birth weight, and then they have a little more wiggle room. But like if your baby is eating consistently every single hour, right? If they're just like eating, 14, 15 times a day, that's telling me like, okay, that baby might not be transferring enough. And we just want to look and we want to see what's going on.
Okay. And could that be a supply issue, a latch issue, a combination? That's when you might want to see someone.
Could be, could be nothing. Could be like some people are more of a faucet than a bucket. And so their babies just like a lot of people with like thyroid issues or things like that will often just sort of like their babies can eat enough, but they have to feed really often. But we want to know that. So we need to kind of get to the bottom of that.
Okay, so interesting. So
sometimes they're going to eat and eat and eat like every hour between 6 and 8 p.m., 6 and 10. And then they're going to sleep for 5 hours. But what I'm looking at is like in the 24, did they get enough feedings?
Got it. What's your opinion on waking a baby to feed them?
Depends on the situation.
Okay.
So a lot of the time you just like have to do the every 3 hour thing to get discharged. And it's not my deal, but like it is what it is. You're just trying to get enough food into them to go home.
Yes.
But if everything's going really well, I want them to be leading on cue.
Okay.
And so I really like they're going to eat better if they can wake up and eat. If we're starting to see like they've crossed that 10% weight loss, they're like we're at 2 weeks, they've not regained their birth weight, I may need to wake them up to feed because like sleepy, sometimes babies get really hungry and then they get more sleepy. And so that can be kind of a cycle. So there are times where if something's up, I do want to wake that baby up to eat. But if there's no other issues, if we're not worried about anything and they're waking up on their own, those like 8 times a day, then I'm going to leave them be because a lot of the time it's like that baby would have woken up at 3 hours and 15 minutes and been ready to eat. And instead of spending those 15
Wait, I can't hear you all of a sudden.
Oh no.
Sorry. There was like a weird glitch. I could see you still talking, but I couldn't hear you. So it could have just been me. But okay.
So like those are 15 minutes that like you could be eating a sandwich instead of like fighting this baby awake who's just not ready yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember as a first time parent, and I did this as not so much my second time, but with my first baby, I was the first of my friends and sisters to have a baby, and my mother conveniently completely forgot about
no memory. I mean, do you remember it? I'm like, I was sleep deprived. I have no memories.
But I just remember being so scared about everything, and I didn't have like a changing table that had the scale on it, so I wasn't totally sure about like her weight until we went for like the checkup at 6 weeks. But I remember constantly waking her up to feed. I was so scared, and looking back I'm like, I wish I would have just let her sleep. But you don't know, like there's so much misinformation out there, and a lot of it is scary, and you think like something bad's going to happen if you don't wake your baby to feed them. I remember feeling all those things.
Like, I don't usually recommend people weigh babies all that much at home because babies like go up and down depending on like how much they pooped or like when they ate. Like they go up and down a lot. So I actually get better information looking over a few days. And that's why we check you every couple of days. That's why it's
Yeah.
like you go home and then you go to Peds the next day. And if Peds is worried, you're coming back the next day. But if they're not worried, they're going to let you go 2 or 3 days. So if they're
Yes.
not worried, you can let your baby set the cues. But you're right, it's scary as a parent. Like
Hmm.
you're cooking in a pressure cooker. It's like
Right.
you can't open it and stir it. You don't know how much they're getting. And that can be really unnerving. And you kind
Yeah.
of have to build that confidence with that.
Yes. So I kind of want to go back to you had touched briefly on this idea about like pain.
Yeah.
Again, with my first, I remember when she would latch, it would hurt so bad. And I would literally just like close my eyes. I remember for 30 seconds until it would go numb. Because I just thought this is normal. This is how she feeds, and this is really painful. And eventually it would subside, but my nipple literally just went numb. So, what would you say to someone who is maybe experiencing pain or could experience pain in the future breastfeeding?
Yeah. So pain is common,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not it you shouldn't be in pain even though a
Yes.
lot of people are.
Yeah. Okay.
And so especially like with your first go round, you sometimes just need to learn how to do it. So the
Mm-hmm.
nipple is supposed to be so far back in their mouth that it's actually vacuum that pulls
Mm-hmm.
milk out. So it can be a lot of sensation and definitely like you're learning a new dance, you're going to step on toes. And sometimes like they just get you wrong one time and then it's sore and that can take a while to get unsore.
Yeah.
But if you're in toe curling pain with every latch, you need to see somebody.
Yes, I did eventually, and I just wasn't like getting her on at the right time. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like as soon as she yawned, I was like, oh, like
Yep,
it was so
exactly. It's
much
like
better
running
when
through
it was
elevator
wider.
doors. I
When
have
it was
videos
wider, it
of it in the
was
book of like how you can kind of like pull their chin
yeah,
open more
it
and like
changed
smoosh
everything.
them on more. But yeah, the other thing I always tell people, you're eating a taco, not drinking out of a straw. Like I don't want that
Yeah,
baby like here, like I
yeah,
want
that's
that
how
baby
she
like
was. Yeah,
I want that big mouth. And same thing with bottles. I want that big mouth on a bottle. I want that like big open latch.
yeah. So for the people on the call that are expecting their baby or have a newborn, what are some things that you would share with them when it's time to come see their pediatrician or their lactation consultant? What are some signs they need to be looking for?
Yeah, so if you're not seeing peas and poops,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm looking for that strip to turn blue. I'm looking for like a diaper that's wet,
Mm-hmm.
not just like maybe technically I want it to be wet, right? And so it's like day one, I'm looking for one of each. Day two, I'm looking for two of each. Day three, I'm looking for three of each. Day four and onwards, I'm looking for four of each until we get to birth weight,
Mm-hmm.
right? So babes are born with fat stores while milk transitions. So they drop their weight down and then we're looking for them to climb back up as milk transitions. Um, and like a lot of the time, it doesn't hurt to just like go in and have a weight check, just like grab a
Mm-hmm.
weight check if you're feeling nervous. But definitely if you're in pain, I want you to see a lactation professional. Not the pediatricians don't generally have enough time to really work on those latch skills.
Mm-hmm.
If your baby is eating, like I said, like more than 12 times in 24 hours, I want to see you. And yeah, if you or your baby are like visibly in pain, I want to know about that.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. One question, and I've seen this come up too, and I've talked about this with my own spouse, but in your opinion, what you've seen, and I would just love to get your sort of perspective. What does sharing the mental load look like with your partner if you're the one breastfeeding? What's the role for the partner or the person near you helping
Yeah,
emotionally and logistically? Like what are tangible ways?
yeah,
I would just love your perspective on that.
yeah. So I'm a postpartum mood disorder survivor. Like I had a life-threatening perinatal mood disorder. I am here today because of the therapists and like absolutely needed medical intervention. Like I'm still on Zoloft. I needed rescue meds. Like I needed pretty serious psych meds to sleep
Mm-hmm.
early on after my daughter was born. And so I factor that into how I practice. And I usually have folks start bottles as early as 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If everything's going well, to have that tool to like balance that in.
Yeah.
Because I just think getting those longer chunks of uninterrupted sleep is so critical for self-care parenting in this era that's that's how I practice. Not everyone practices that way, but I feel like the mental health balance is really, really important. So that's one piece. The other piece is like building up your partner's soothing tools, like them like
Mm-hmm.
learning how to like wear a baby and walk them around the block several times and be like, it's okay that this baby's a little like fussy.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Take this carrier and this
You're going to be
pacifier, and
okay.
I will see you in 30 minutes. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to the shower now. I think some of that just like building some of that grit. And it's often the case that we as the nursing parent are like, no, give me that baby, right? Like we're actually the barrier to them building up those skills. So I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we have to own like, okay, like that baby is fed and okay. And like, I'm going to walk away now and I'm going to let you do that. So I think that can be really helpful. And then up and to including, like, I chose with my second to combo feed and split. My spouse and I, like, both have complex PTSD, and mental health is a big part of our life. And
Mm-hmm.
so we split the nights in a way that I'm a night owl. So they would go to sleep at um like 8 or 9, and sleep until 4 or 5, and then come get our son. And I would stay up till like 2, overlap, sleep with him a little bit, and then they would take him. So we were both getting a solid chunk of 6 hours of protected sleep because that's what we needed for our
Mm-hmm.
mental health.
Yep.
And that worked well for us. And he had bottles, which was some pumped milk at that point, but really vastly formula because I had I don't like pumping, and it was like part of my traumatic postpartum.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally not the case for everybody. A lot of people
Right.
really love it, and exclusive pumping totally works for them. Did not work for me. And so with my second, like this is always the thing about if you get to have more kids, they're still gonna throw curveballs. Don't get me wrong. Like that kid still had a tongue tie and like feeding him and torticollis, and it was still way harder than I wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew enough about what I needed to change the situation a little bit around what my family needed. And so I think you also can allow yourself flexibility that like breastfeeding doesn't have to look exactly like one thing. And then I think other things like washing pump parts and washing, and being in charge of a lot of that stuff. I had a C-section with my second and was pretty guarded about my recovery and sent my partner to the pediatrician without me on that day 2 home visit. Like I was not needed. It was a weight check.
Right. Right.
So I think there are also some of those moments where we're like worried it looks like we're not a good mom if we're not doing everything, but actually it really builds up our partners to give them more to do.
Yeah, I agree. And the belief that they can do it too. Like,
Yeah.
you got this.
Hmm.
Thank you for sharing a little bit about your postpartum journey with us. Um, I'm so relieved to hear you say in your practice, and one of the things you recommend to some of your clients is a bottle at 2 weeks.
Hmm.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone in your profession say that. And I just have to say, like, I am so relieved and grateful. I wish I had heard some of the things you just shared before I had my first daughter 7 years ago, and even my second 4 years ago. I think you've given anyone that's on this live or people that will listen to this later, like, kind of the permission to like take a breath and
Yeah.
know that there are other ways their partner can help. And if you introduce a bottle, you haven't failed. You read these things and you really think that about yourself in the
Yeah.
beginning. And when you're a first time mom, I don't even think I put bottles or formula or any help on my registry the first time because I was like, no, I'm going to exclusively breastfeed. I've got this. Like, there's
Yeah.
no other way.
Yeah.
And that
And
what didn't
bottles
end up
are
being the
often like a
case.
great tool to work on a baby's
Right.
latch. Like it's a
Right.
great way, like if a baby has a lot of mouth tension, I can work on that not attached to a human body,
Mm-hmm.
which
Well,
is
thank
nice.
you for that, really.
So my belief is very much that there's lots of tools and the
Mm-hmm.
tools are morally neutral. And like, I actually really loved breastfeeding. It was actually really supportive for my mental health. And I needed protected sleep too. And I
Yes.
think the more we allow space for like these are just tools, the
Yep.
better we get to where we can make good decisions for ourselves. And that's what I want for families.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Thank you.
I'm
I couldn't
delighted
agree more.
to have Milk Diary as one of those tools where it's like
Hmm.
really giving you that value of like being able to see, oh, my pain is actually going down.
Right.
I'm so in it, I can't see that. Or like, oh, it felt like you ate all the time, but actually you only did do 8 feedings yesterday. Like, okay, that's progress. And I think
Right.
also in those moments where you're really overwhelmed by not knowing if your baby's eating enough, sometimes I want people to be getting feedback that means something for them.
Definitely. Yeah. And not from external sources like this app that's designed specifically to help
It's
them.
designed to help
Right.
you understand your situation and like
Right.
build your skills up instead of like giving you information that then you don't know what to do with.
Right. Right. I have two last questions for you.
Great.
One, what would you say to someone who is really struggling? They have tried all the tricks, everything under the sun, and they just feel like maybe they've had a professional opinion and they're just simply not producing enough milk, and they're just like really struggling with the idea of maybe that's just not working for them in the way they thought it would. What would you say to someone who's like really struggling in sort of like that realm right now?
One of my favorite pieces of advice is that good parents change our minds. Like, I'm a phenomenal parent. I'm a really, really, really good parent. And this is like a silly example, but I like have a thing about like kids doing track and like running. I'm like, why are they running? Why can't they just play? And this has like always been one of my things. I just am like, ugh. Well, lo and behold, I have a kiddo where like the running club at her school is building her up and giving her a place to make friends. And it's so good. And it's so good for her. And so here I am changing my mind. And feeding was the same way, where I had to realize like where was my idea about how I was going to feed her getting
Hmm.
in the way of actually being her mom. And having a newborn is rare air. I want people to get to be in it and like enjoy your babies. And not everyone likes newborns. Newborns are weird blobs. I'm weird that I like them. But I think getting to notice and be like, I'm not a failure for meeting the circumstance I'm in. I'm a success for
Hmm.
taking in the information of what's going on and changing the plan to meet my family's needs. And like that is a skill that you take all the way through parenting in a way that like you don't breastfeed for all that long,
Right. Yeah.
but like who you identify as a parent and like learning to be able to really see your kid and really see yourself and your situation and how those puzzle pieces go together, like that will carry you.
Can you say that motto one more time?
Yeah. Good parents change their mind.
That is amazing because I feel like I still do that with even
Mhm.
4 and 7 year olds. And then there's a Daniel Tiger song about changing your mind that like my kids hear all the time, but
Yep.
it's left my memory. But thank you for sharing that. It's like it's okay to change your mind. I don't know. Someone on the
I'm
call
like
will
a
probably heard
little
it.
embarrassed. My kids are such tiger heads, and I'm a little embarrassed that I
There
have it
is a changing
to
your
pull
mind
up for
jingle.
you.
We'll share it in the notes
Okay,
somewhere
great.
and
Phew,
catch
yeah,
it.
we got to do that. Yeah, my kid is
Um,
okay. Actually, here's another hot tip because we're
yes.
deep in like Daniel Tiger or Mr. Rogers on vinyl. 10 out
Mm,
of 10
cool.
recommend. And there is a cover of Many Ways to Say I Love You by Sylvan Esso, just like one of my favorite dance bands. And it was my song of the summer. So that we'll post that too. You guys
All
can
right, these
enjoy
are very
my.
important notes. Got it. And then the last question I would love to sort of like leave us on is for the people on the call and the folks that will listen in the future that are preparing to start their feeding journey, what would you
Mhm.
say to them?
I would say get pretty clear about what's really important to you. Like, is it at breastfeeding? Is it flexibility? Is it like connection and bonding? So that you can go back to that if you're in a hard moment and be like, is the thing I'm trying to do working with that actual goal or against it?
Hmm.
And then if you are planning to breastfeed, learn about lymphatic drainage massage and good latch and feeding cues. Those are like my 3 things that I think people don't necessarily learn before their baby's born that you need in those first few days.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that wisdom with
Yeah.
us.
And those are all in videos in my book. So
Okay,
if you don't
perfect.
know where to start with that, that's a
We'll
spot.
make sure everyone has the links to that afterwards too. Okay, well, if anyone has any like immediate questions, you're welcome to put it in the comments. But Victoria,
I know
thank
we
you.
got a question about
Oh yeah,
the cues of when to eat. And so you're going to rewatch this from the beginning and you'll get to see my whole dramatic performance as though I'm a newborn.
no, it was brilliant. It was just like great acting. Okay, so Victoria, Milk Diary, Lolo, they participated in our giveaway, Legendary Milk, and our friends at Miracle Mama. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. And truly, Victoria, like your energy, your optimism, your kindness, I can like feel it through this Instagram live. And hopefully the people that were here today just feel a little bit better or more confident or prepared or educated in a little bit of ways to help them on their feeding journey. So thank you guys so much.
It's so kind of you.
We really appreciate it. Okay, well, enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Thank you. I'm going to go pick
Thanks,
up that kiddo
everybody.
from school. Bye,
Oh, I
y'all.
have to announce
Oh, the
we have
giveaway.
a giveaway winner. Sorry, guys. She doesn't have to be on this live. I almost forgot. Let me see my notes. Okay, so our giveaway winner is Brandy Martin. She has a 2-month-old. So I don't
That's so
know if she's
exciting.
on this call, but we will let her know. And if you are, congratulations. But again, thanks everybody, and hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, I would love to. I'm a super baby registry nerd. Like my happy place is on the couch with a dirty martini and doing a friend's baby registry. So
Okay, well, our next Instagram live, we can both have a martinis, and then we can just talk about what needs to be on your registry to prepare
dream
you for
come
a
true.
successful
Dream
feeding
come
journey.
true. Let's do it.
Done. Let's do it. Okay, you guys
Okay.
have a great day. Thanks, Victoria.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.